Coming up next on Parent Connection, a conversation with Allison Pickard from Arundel County Council of PTAs. Thank you for joining us for Parent Connection. Today our guest is Allison Pickard, the president of Arundel County Council of PTAs. Allison, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, how did you become president? First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you became president of the council.
Well, I started with PTA and parent involvement back in about 2010 when my family moved into the county. I have 3 children, a 7th grader, a 4th grader, and a 1st grader. So when I got involved at Oakwood Elementary, I started out and I stepped up to be secretary of the PTA. They were needing an officer, and I did that role for a year. And then I got into some special projects, building a garden and some other things. And as time went on, I took over the PTA and became president for 2 years and have remained very active with Oakwood. I then took a big chance and applied to get appointed to the school board, and that was very exciting, and I served last year a full year of service to the Board of Education. And when that term ended, I was approached about running for president for the council, and I thought I really wanted to stay involved in the schools, and I'm very committed to parent involvement, so I thought it was a perfect fit.
And we're glad that you did. The other thing that I think we should point out is that you were chosen as Volunteer of the Year one year for some of the great work you did at Oakwood and really some of the out-of-the-box things you did with the partnerships that you created with the school. I think that's really important because that's what so many schools are looking for. How can they partner in the community?
Yeah, we had a lot of good luck. I was willing to take on a project, and I worked with the idea that I was going to get to a yes. Every time I went out to a different business partner or faith-based partner, we just got a lot of yeses. So our school garden that we had thought would take 3 to 5 years to build and to build out all the different aspects of it really only took 18 months through a lot of hard work from our parents and lots of support from the community. And it was a lot easier than I thought. A lot of community groups and small businesses and churches are really willing to help our schools. It was very exciting.
And we hear that a lot of times. People, they just need that ask. You know, they
That's
really
right.
need you to come out with a specific what you need. Sometimes, a lot of times we just say, we'd like to have a partner, we want you to be involved. But they really want a specific ask. What do you need from me? And then lots of times they really are willing. They want to be part of the community, and they know that partnering with the school is a great way to do that.
Definitely. And sometimes parents don't even realize that they could be the conduit to a community connection.
Right.
Their church is looking for a service project, or their local business would like to give back, and they just need to make the connection for us. So I think sometimes it's just getting over the fear of maybe someone's going to say no,
right.
And someone might say no. It's not
True.
quite in their business plan, but then you just move on to the next,
right.
And try again. And it is easier than it might look.
Right, I think so too, but I think it's just that scare factor. Well, let's talk a little bit about the council. Tell us a little bit about what is the Arundel County Council of PTAs and who's on the council?
Well, the county council is made up in similar ways to your local PTA at the school level. There's a president. We currently have 2. We have a first vice president and a vice president of legislation, and then a secretary and a treasurer. And then we have lots of committees that are working out in different aspects. Health and wellness committee that helps support our after prom programs and other wellness initiatives around the county. We have a bylaws committee. Those are really seasoned volunteers that go out and help our local units stay current with your bylaws and wade through some of those aspects of PTA. And I'm not, as the new president, I might not get all my committees right, but we have.
Well, you have Founders Day.
We have our Founders Day. That's
one
right.
Of the large events.
We're always looking for committee members. So that's when we are looking to maybe change things up this year a little bit. We might try to get it a little more exciting? I don't know. So we're looking for people with their ideas. The council, like local PTAs, most of the council members have served in some capacity, and they have that experience, and that's really helpful when you serve on the council, because we go out and support our local units, and we're working very hard to be as responsive as possible. So if someone is looking and they've done some leadership roles in their school and want to get involved in the council, I would love to talk to them.
And I think that is, sometimes we hear what is the difference between PTO and PTA, and a lot of the difference is PTA is more for the one school, the local, where PTA is more every child. So you're looking to really work within advocacy and different things like that. Let's talk a little bit about the purpose of PTA.
Well, the mission of PTA is to support parents and students in their school communities. And we can do that through advocacy, because there are over 12,000 members of PTA in Anne Arundel County amongst our 89 different units. Together, we have a very strong voice if we choose to use it. But PTA is working to educate parents on public education and advocate for public education, not just locally, but at the state and at the national level. So we have a lot of great support systems that help us to do the work that needs to be done.
And a lot of people don't know that free and reduced lunch really was something that came about from advocacy from PTA members. The original PTA members, that's what their first push was for, free and reduced lunch.
You know, it's really interesting. With the history of PTA dates back to 1897. It predates women's right to vote.
Right.
But mothers got together collectively and decided they needed to push for better schools and education of their children. And it's a pretty awesome story. And as you follow it along all the way up to 2016, it's pretty cool.
Well, that's really interesting, and I think that's a great place. We have to go to a little break now, and we'll be coming right back. Thank you.
I'm Corporal Gamble with the Anne Arundel County Police. In regards to school safety, there are certain items that are not allowed in school. Weapons, anything that can be construed as a weapon, cannot be brought to school. Things like switchblades, knives, anything with a sharp point, fingernail files, guns of any sort cannot be brought to school. Also, illegal drugs, prescription drugs, unless they are issued by the health room, cannot be brought to school. Tobacco products of any sort, alcohol, anything of that nature is not something that you can have in school.
Welcome back. Allison, tell us, what are some of your goals for Anne Arundel County Council of PTAs?
Well, I have several goals that I'd like to accomplish in my term of service. We have already, since taking over leadership July 1st, we've already worked really well with practically a school in every cluster to support their local unit and the work they're doing. But I'd like to continue on that and increase communication between the council and the 89 PTAs and make sure that they feel supported and we can build on those relationships. Which gets me to my next goal, which is really taking the momentum of the parent advocacy that we were able to see last year for our public schools in front of both the Board of Ed and the County Council, and even at the state level. And I'd really like to increase that, and I'd like to train more parents on how best to advocate, not only in the boardroom or at the County Council, but also within their own school. I'd like to be able to train some parents on how to advocate for their child in their classroom, at the school level, and bring that advocacy out into the community as well. I mean, we have 12,000 members and growing. We could be a really solid force for public education in the county if we all work together.
And I think that's it. Lots of people really would like to come out. It's just they're a little hesitant, that public speaking part, or they're nervous, and they really just want to be walked through the process. Because,
Sure.
you know, talking about, okay, you're going to go up to the mic, you're going to have this many minutes to prepare for that. You don't all have to speak. Bring supporters, so you have cheerleaders in the
Sure.
crowd.
Well, and really, I think there's ways to really get your message across, and one is to appoint a spokesperson,
Yes.
have them at the mic, and be surrounded by matching t-shirts from your school in whatever you're advocating for, whether it's some construction issues you have going on, or a policy you're not happy with, or whatever it is you want to
Right.
advocate for. But I think we're all very busy. Parents are busy, but we do need to engage. We do need to engage if we want to get out of our public schools what we think our children deserve. And the only way to do it is to show up.
I think that's perfect, and that's what we need. We need so much more of that from parents. How do you connect parents with the council? What's a way that you can do that?
Well, I'd like to take some time to involve parents from all the different clusters in our local units to be on some of our committees. I know it's another meeting, but there's also some cool ways to do some committee work via conference call or something else that I'd like to try out, or a Facebook. I'm not even sure, but I've heard there's some really neat ways where you don't actually all have to physically be in one place at one time to get the work done of a committee. I think that would be really fun, using some of the different technology that exists out there. But also, as we engage with our local units, I'd like to provide more training at different times, and I'd like to get out and see some PTAs. And we've had really great success in the early start of my term in getting veteran folks. They're taking a leadership role in the council, but they're also going out and serving and meeting local PTA officers directly to support their needs.
I think that's really important that PTAs know that too. That if I have a question, or if I'm really worried about this, I'm brand new, I don't understand, that the council really is providing opportunities throughout the year for training, or if you can't make it to the training, there's somebody that will actually talk to you on the phone and talk you through it, or come right out and meet with you.
Definitely.
I know there are meetings going on with different members of the council all the time now with local units, as you said, just giving them that boost, because sometimes just knowing that you have someone you can call if you have a question gives you the confidence to take that next leadership role.
Well, exactly. We always provide training for current new presidents and treasurers. I'd like to add some training like PTA 360 for folks who aren't currently in a leadership role, to try to demystify what it means to be an officer on PTA.
Right.
Some people see IRS forms and nonprofit status and 501c3, and it's just sort of an alphabet soup, and it's a little stressful anytime you're talking about the IRS. But really, to do that work, once you do it, it's really not that as hard as you might think, but you just need that extra support to let you know and walk you through it sometimes. It's not always easy on the websites or just adding a link. So if you could have someone, I'm going this afternoon actually to meet and help someone through their financial audit, and they just want to get it right, and they don't want to be turning in something, that sounds very daunting. I'm sure after we sit down, she's going to be like, oh, okay, it wasn't as hard as I thought. But I also want more parents to feel comfortable taking these roles.
Exactly.
We want to increase parent involvement, and sometimes it's hard, especially at a smaller school, to get officers, and I would like to help people just take the leap.
Well, that's another thing that brings me, you've had really good working relationships with the principals of the schools that your children are in, and with that working within PTA. What are some suggestions you can give to parents and PTA members and leaders on how to establish a really good working relationship with your administrator at the school and your teachers?
Well, I think it's really important. It all, like most things in life, start with communication. And I know the rule we had that we set up at Oakwood was that I would meet with as president, I would meet with our principal on a regular basis. Sometimes we couldn't meet in person, but we talked on the phone to make sure that we were always on the same page. And I promised her that I wouldn't surprise her in a meeting, and she promised me she wouldn't surprise me in a meeting with something we hadn't talked about. And I think that goes to build a lot of trust. And parents need to feel like they can reach out to their teachers and the administration as well, beyond, not even outside of PTA even, but building those relationships is key. And if you have, we actually have, with the parent engagement office, we can support on both sides.
Right.
If they're ever, because communications do break down and sometimes personalities can clash, but the council and the school system have resources, and we can help PTAs and principals get to a good working relationship.
Right, and I think that's sometimes that's where my role will come in as a superintendent's representative to PTA, to work with the administrators and the parent groups to talk through problems that they may be having, and sometimes it's on both sides. Sometimes
Sure.
principals don't understand, maybe they're new and they weren't with the PTA before, the rules that PTA has to follow, and sometimes PTAs don't understand that the principal runs the school, and anything that happens, whether it's the parent group or anything, it's going to fall to the principal's responsibility. So lots of times, just that, like you said, open communication and explaining those roles to people really is all that's needed.
Sure.
I know lots of times when we go in, what has happened is just exactly what you just said. You made that commitment never to surprise the principal, and the principal made the commitment back to you never to surprise you. I feel like that's one of the biggest issues that happen, is someone will come to a meeting on either side with this idea that they think is just absolutely great and wonderful, but they've never discussed it with the other person. And if it's PTA to principal, sometimes it could be it conflicts with the school schedule or teachers' responsibilities and duties, and sometimes on the other end, the principals could be asking for something that really is against PTA. It's not within their purpose, because PTA, great fundraisers, and really schools couldn't make it without them, but they do have restrictions on things that they should be buying, shouldn't. So that's where your council comes in to help PTA
right.
leaders. We come in to try to help the principals and teachers to understand that role.
That's right. There are restrictions, and there should be.
Right.
As PTAs, they're nonprofits. As they raise money, as the members themselves are fundraising, but the fundraising dollars are really to benefit the entire school and the students, and enhance learning and achievement. It's sort of tricky when we get into some things that want to be purchased, or and then
Right.
then the school has to take up maintaining them, and who's going to buy the equipment to maintain those, blah, 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 blah. It can get a little sticky, but the way to deal with that is just communicate. And if you set up in the summer, after you finish a year, if you agree to have a planning meeting with the administration and active teachers about what they would like, and what goes along with the curriculum, and what would be a great enhancement to the next school year, and the PTA talks about their ideas, and you come to some mutual agreements, and then you move forward. It's the easiest way to go.
Right. I think that's so important. We talked a little bit about PTA's fundraising, and some PTAs are really bringing in a lot of money, and that's really with parents working hard to make that happen. It doesn't ever just happen at the schools, but PTAs are known for that, but really that is a secondary purpose of a PTA. Really, PTA is more of an advocacy group.
That is correct.
So let's talk about some different ways that parents can advocate.
Well, and there's advocacy on all levels. So parents can involve themselves in advocating with the Board of Education. The Board of Education has a whole process of how they pass different policies. So if we could engage parents more on accessing the website and tracking and watching the board meetings about how policies are made,
Right.
and there's a first reading and a second reading, and it's passed at the third reading, and they take the board really is looking to have parent. So PTAs could assign an advocacy chair to actually monitor new policies coming, and there'll be some good ones this year, I understand. So it's better to get involved before the policy is passed than reacting to it.
Well, I think that just getting that information out to parents, because when something comes down, or a change in grading policy, just for example, and they're unhappy with it, and then on the board end of it, they're thinking, well, we put it out there 3 months, it's sat there. So just educating, if PTAs can do that piece of educating the parents on how policies are made, and check that website every month and see what's up there new, what policies are sitting there waiting. Because I always say to parents, that I feel that the number one thing that will get something changed is parents speaking about it, and that board members truly want to hear parents' voices. I mean, I know sometimes at board meetings they'll be a little upset because it might be something really major and no one's made any comments on it.
Exactly.
So they have to then take what they've heard themselves. So really they listen to parents strongly on that. So we really would love to have more advocacy that way as well.
Well, I'm hoping to be able to include in our regular scheduled training some advocacy training, because we are all, we're all parents of multiple children and busy lives and two working, blah, 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 blah. But with just a little bit of information, parents could get a little more proactive with some of the policy making process rather than reactive.
Yes.
And the council, that's where we can step in, because we're not doing some of the things of a local unit. That's where we can help local units stay on top of things. And there's every family has a different policy that they want to understand, or they want to have their feedback on it. You might not be writing your emails on every policy. Some you're not as interested in, but that's not something the board doesn't know. So I know it's frustrating from a previous board member perspective, is to pass a policy and then people coming out and it's like, well, where were you 90 days ago when we were really wanting to talk about this? So that would be helpful, and that's just education, and that's a key part of what PTA does.
And I think that's an important part, and you're advocating for every child. That's another thing. You're not just advocating for your child. You're advocating for children who may not have that voice, or parents who just for whatever reason are not able to be involved as much. So you're really kind of taking on their causes as well.
That's correct. Our motto is every child, one voice. We definitely, PTA wants to have a collective message out there of making sure that our school districts, our schools, and our state is thinking about all of our children, not just a certain subset. And that's really important. That's a huge point that I would like to stress over the next 2 years as my term of service.
And I know at the council level, you're reaching out to locals all the time, and you're trying to get that message out there. Hopefully this will help as well, but really trying to tell them that there are people there that will help you. And then you have in PTA, it's the local unit, the county council PTAs, Maryland State PTA, and then national PTA, who really has lots of information that parents can utilize.
Yeah, both at the state level and the national level, the PTA websites are pretty amazing. They have resources beyond, they have resources available for every topic, whether it's literacy, you may, Common Core. There's all kinds of resources that you might not think about. But going to PTA.org and seeing what kind of toolkits they've put together, it's a great resource.
I know that even in my role as the senior manager for school and family partnerships, we work with parent engagement and family involvement. That's our mission. That's what we're always looking for. And I will utilize National PTA's website because they have whole sections on different suggestions for how to get parents involved and different ways that parents might want to be involved. So it's a good thing for local chapters to use because it talks to how to create different volunteer opportunities within the school.
Well, we'll be having some networking opportunities for local units too, and I'd like to engage local units in bragging about some of the things they do really well. And what they do really well, another PTA may be struggling with, and they could really, I love to sort of not have to recreate the wheel. So I love to say, oh, we just noticed the other day at Belvedere Elementary, they put these really neat stickers on the door for teachers who have joined PTA to let the parents know that this teacher is a PTA member. And I know we did that at Oakwood. But other schools might not be doing that, but that's a really great way to get teachers to remember to join PTA. Oh, I need my sticker. I've got to turn in my form. And that's just a small example of the different really cool things that are happening. Deal Elementary is using social media really well. and they could probably train some other people about how to maximize social media to stay connected with their parents. I know when I first started at Oakwood, someone turned me on to Sign Up Genius, and that revolutionized the way I interacted with parents.
It's really a great tool.
And
it
they
really
could,
is.
you know, they signed up for gardening day and watering, and there are just little tidbits that you don't think about, and you get so into what you're doing at your own school that I'm hoping to provide more opportunities for inside the clusters and outside their individual clusters to meet and brag about themselves, network.
Well, I think that's the good opportunity, like you said, kind of brag about yourself and then get ideas from other people, because that's right on the mark about not having to create the wheel. And we work with that and with our volunteers and our volunteer groups all the time in the volunteer team, trying to showcase some of the really great things that are going on at schools, volunteer programs that are being led by volunteers, and many of those volunteers are PTA, but trying to show other schools how they're doing it, and hey, this could really help you. I know lots of schools are doing like Chessie programs, and some schools say we really want to do it, we just don't know how to make it work within our teacher schedule, and you know, the children have to read, how's that going to run, and showing them that bringing in the volunteers or working with your PTA to get the word out. Sometimes they'll just take over the program for you and it runs effortlessly, and that's because of a lot of hard work from the parents. But just hearing that and hearing about other opportunities, I think, is really valuable to all of the local units.
Definitely. I was emailing with someone from a local unit last night, and I could almost hear through our emailing back and forth her sigh of relief, like, oh, okay, I'm not the only person struggling with this.
Right.
Or I'm like, no, there's people here, and yes, I can come out to your school, or I can have someone come out and meet with you, and we can support you. And other PTAs can support each other. I mean, they need the opportunity. We need to provide some networking time for them,
Right.
and we definitely will be doing that in the near future. But I'm excited. I'm excited about the year ahead. There's lots of work to be done. But the parent involvement, it takes so many different shapes, and that's the other thing I'd like parents to understand. You don't have to be at every PTA meeting. You can be involved in your school on different levels,
right,
and still be an active voice. So we'll be
and to really view that County Council PTAs as your first stop. Call them when there's any issues. You're going to get support. People are not going to browbeat you. They're going to talk you through whatever the problem is, and if they need to take you to the next level and get help from the state, they're going to do that too.
Yeah.
So I think just knowing that you all are there and a great resource.
Yeah, I hope we can communicate that. That's the first thing I want people to know, is we're here to help. We're not here to get you in trouble. We can work through any situation together.
Right.
So yeah, I hope to allay some fears, because I want to keep people involved. Every time we turn over a new unit, people have their anxiety about taking on, especially the role of treasurer, and they hear IRS, but the council is here to help them, and it ends up not being as complicated as people think.
I think that's a great way to end the program and tell people, call the council, you're there to help. We really appreciate you joining us today.
Well,
Thanks
you so much.
much.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Until next time.
Hi, I'm Jody Rissy, the host for Food for Thought. Later today, I'm joined by Erin Kennedy Heisum from the Maryland State Department of Education. Erin, how important are partnerships for the communities that we serve?
Partnerships allow a variety of different players to work together to achieve a common goal that betters the entire community.
To watch the full interview, join me later today on Food for Thought.